Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Virginia SBDC's webinar series, Google and Beyond, Marketing and Managing on the Web. This series is designed to take a look at tools and techniques to help small businesses take their business to the next level on the web. Today's webinar is Who Needs an IT Department When You've Got Google Apps. All of our Google and Beyond webinars are presented by Ray Sidney Smith, Digital Strategist and President of W3 Consulting. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type those questions into the question window and Ray will do his best to answer them. Without further ado, here's Ray Sidney Smith.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you to the Virginia SBDC Network for having me for the Google and Beyond Marketing and Managing on the Web webinars. Today we'll be talking, of course, as Tracy talked about, Google Apps. And just so you know, if you have a question subsequent to the webinar, as Tracy said, make sure you ask your questions through the question panel as we go through this morning. And if you have them afterward, feel free to go ahead and tweet those at W3 Consulting. You can just hashtag that Beyond Google, and I'll be able to make sure that I answer those questions. So today we're going to be talking about Google Apps, and I just want to give a little bit of history about the product that we're talking about. So for time told, since we've been pretty much using computers, Microsoft has been the platform to beat. And so to date, we've had productivity software for businesses, and business productivity software really covered the gamut of those things that were word processors and spreadsheet software and so on and so forth. We've come to know them very, very well. We know the horror of PowerPoint, for instance, and we know how to get around our email using Microsoft Outlook, and so Excel and Microsoft Word and all of these other programs have become really a part and mainstay of business as we've known it for the last 30 years. So it's really been quite an exciting and interesting road ahead. And so we know Microsoft, and what we know about Microsoft is that a lot of what Microsoft is downloadable software or installable software. We put it on our desktop, and now we have software that we use on our desktop. Well, times, they are a-changing, and what we're finding is that the web is becoming much and much more pervasive. It's not only becoming more pervasive on our computers, our laptops and computers that we have in our homes and that we take out into the cafes and so on and so forth as businesses, and we're also finding that they're showing up on our phones now. So we have cell phones, and these cell phones are capable of being now smartphones with displays, and these displays are capable of having us connect to the web. With an ever-present access to the internet, we now have the ability to manage our businesses from anywhere. But there comes into play a problem with the Microsoft model and our connectedness to the internet. The Microsoft model requires us to have this software on all of our computers, and it requires the purchase of licenses for each one of those devices. So when we're looking at the Microsoft model, it becomes a cost-prohibitive model for the average small business when we're attempting to give that software and make sure that software is accessible to all of our staff. Included in that is the problem of the BYOD. BYOD means bring your own device, and it is the IT department's in the current state of the world, it is the IT department's worst nightmare. You see, as a business owner or as an organization, if you handle any level of IT, you realize that people are bringing their phones into the office with them. They're bringing them everywhere, quite honestly. They have, I think the percentage is now something around 91% of all U.S. All Americans pretty much have a phone on them 24/7, and that's a remarkable number. And what that means is that with these ever-present devices, there's only bound to be your business data showing up on these phones that are not yours and that you do not control. And so the issue of cost-prohibitive software with the mixture of having devices and laptops and so on and so forth that are out there in the world that may have access to your business data, and your business data is important. And so how do we control all that? Well, Google has decided to do something about it. And they didn't just decide to do something about this yesterday or the year before. They started back in around 2005, 2006, and they started the process of creating what is known today and what I'm going to be talking about today, which is Google Apps for Business. Now, back in 2006, Google first launched its Gmail for your domain service. And what that allowed you to do was to be able to use a custom domain for your email account, and using the Gmail software. So the Gmail service basically said you can now have your name at yourbusiness.com and go forward and use your business name using the Gmail interface. Absolutely fantastic. I loved it. I used it for many years. I moved away from it and then moved back once Google Apps became a little bit more mature. But over that time, from the point where you could use your Gmail service as a business, Google has been adding more and more tools that now today business productivity software is now completely held in the cloud using the Google Apps for Business interface. What that means is you don't need a server, you don't need hardware, you don't need any of those pieces in terms of infrastructure on the IT side. All you need is someone to manage it, and quite honestly, that could be you, the business owner, or an office manager, or a competent staff member, and it walks you through all of the steps of it. I can only take you through parts of it today without, because of the authentication and verification process of the domains. I can't take you through that in this hour, but I will try to walk you through as much of the parts of launching it from the administrative panel side so that you can just see what it all looks like. But let's just go over what the parts of what Google Apps does from its sort of most basic sense. And so here we have Google Apps. We have several different pieces of software. And just so you know, this is sort of about Google. This is specifically about Google Apps for Business. But if you happen to be a nonprofit organization, know that there is a specific Google Apps for nonprofits that is created. If you happen to also be a business that's an educational institution, that is, that you have a .edu, or that you're part of a local government that has a particular, K12.va.us or one of those types of services, you actually would classify under the Google Apps Education Edition, and you should go for Google Apps for Education and not Google Apps for Business. Now, again, there are minor modifications in each of those services for purposes of the service. So you can have different products and so on and so forth that are in there. Like, for instance, Google Apps for Nonprofits. If you are a dedicated nonprofit, then it's a free service to you if you have less than 3,000 users. So up to 3,000 users, it's free. So it's really, really cool. And the Google Apps for Enterprise is just a much larger edition, and so it's a much larger edition. You don't have to worry really about that as well. But right now, we're really going to be talking about Google Apps for Business. Google Apps for Business itself contains, a couple of specific items. One is that you get 25 gigabytes of storage space for each user. Okay, you pay $5 per user per month, or $50 per year, which ends up being less than $4 a month, less than $5 a month for the service. So it's very nominal in terms of cost. You get the first 30 days as a free trial so that you can try it out. This is different than if you've listened to this prior presentations, you'll probably have heard me talk about Google Apps for Business, Google Apps being free. They did have a free version that gave you up to 10 users, and that no longer exists. So you do have to do the 30-day trial, and then it's $5 per month for you and every user. So you just multiply it by the number of users, that's per month, or that's $50 per user per year. So it's a very nominal fee, especially for all of the services that you get. So let's talk about the services that you're going to get. First, let's start from the left-hand side. You have Gmail. Gmail is the de facto standard of email today. It is a threaded email service, and we've talked about this in prior webinars. I'm not going to go through Gmail, but the interface is pretty brilliant. I'm going to take you over to it shortly so you can see at least what it would look like. And then you have Google Calendar. Google Calendar is your calendaring application for time management so that you can have as many calendars as you want. You can have a calendar for each of your staff members that you can share with yourself with with other employees, with the vendors that are out there. You can have a calendar with your clients so that you can share a calendar and see what their calendar looks like or other items. Something that I really love using with Google Calendar is what I call a resources calendar. And in the resources calendar, you can say the conference room and create a conference room calendar. So conference room A has its own calendar, and now instead of having to worry about double booking the conference room, you can actually put the calendar items on the conference room calendar A, and now people won't get confused about who has X or Y. I know I use it heavily for projectors and other types of hardware assets that move around with me, and so that we sort of check them in and check them out of that particular calendar so that we don't end up having someone walk away with a projector or with a particular other device like a video camera or a digital SLR camera that we need for a particular project when it's been dedicated for that project already. So really, really great tool. You can do staff scheduling. You can do all sorts of really fun stuff using Google Calendar. Next up, you have Google Drive. Google Drive is this ginormous product which encompasses actually the next product to the right of it called Google Docs. So Google Drive and Google Docs is basically all of the pieces of Microsoft Office that include word processing, spreadsheet and workbook processing, so data cells and workbook type processing. And it also includes a drawing application which would be applicable to, as closely applicable to comparative, it's closely comparative to the Microsoft Publisher. And then it also includes the Forms tool. The Forms tool allows you to go ahead and create forms, basically web-based forms for people to complete. So you can do surveys of your customers, you can have a contact form on your website and embed it. You can do all sorts of really amazing things using the Forms tool. And then finally, you have the Present, Google Present, which is under Google Docs, and that, of course, is the Microsoft PowerPoint equivalent. So again, we've done webinars on each of these that are in the archives, and we will probably do more of them in the future as the tools change and mature. But either way, Google Drive then has its overarching product, which is a file storage service. So what you do is you download this application onto your desktop, and now you can drag and drop files just like you would into My Documents or into wherever you might keep your files, and it will automatically synchronize and back up those files to Google Drive, which you can then use within Google Drive to share with other people at a very micro level or granular level security. So if you wanted to make sure that this person had access to that document for a particular amount of time, you could give them access and then remove access. You can give multiple people access to it. You can email the document in multiple formats. So if I had a Word document in my Google Drive, I could go ahead and send that document off to folks, and it would go out in a PDF or in the native file format or in another file format that I wanted it to go out into. So it gives you a lot of flexibility with regard to it. And in terms of online collaboration, what really sets Google Drive apart is that when I'm within any document, I can basically live chat and live edit most of the documents that you would create in there, mostly in Google Docs, the Documents tool, Present, spreadsheets, the product they now call Sheets, and Forms, as well as Drawing. If you're in the document live, you can live edit it with hundreds of people at the same time. I mean, you probably will never need to live edit it with hundreds of people, but say a couple of people on your team with your clients directly watching live as you're working on a document. You can share them in on that so that it can collaborate and provide feedback. A really, really fantastic set of tools. What you're seeing in front of you right now on screen is actually a Google presentation, and so it's a Google Present file that's just basically showing you the slides that I'm on. And if I wanted to, I could literally share you into the Google Present file itself, and you could be watching it as I was sliding in your web browser, as opposed to within the GoToWebinar tool that we're using today. And so it's a really, really fantastic tool for being able to give sales presentations and so on and so forth when you're trying to do that on sort of a one-to-one basis and so on and so forth. So that's Google Drive and Google Docs. Hangouts. Hangouts is actually fairly new. Hangouts is a tool that allows you to be able to, it took over what was Google Talk, so if you had ever seen Google Talk before, it's basically a chat client. Hangouts is the chat client on steroids, okay? And so Google has decided to enhance its products and allow you to be able to do a whole host of new things with regard to Google Talk's chat services. So Google Talk has been growing up for many years now, and Google Talk now has the ability to audio and video chat and do some other things. Now Google Hangouts, it basically incorporates a lot of the Google Plus tools that they've been developing over in Google's new social network and putting them into the overarching interface. So recently Google had their big developer conference, what's called the Google I/O conference, and Google I/O 2013. Google really insinuated, implied, inferred, whatever word you want to use, they really have given a pretty good idea that what they're trying to do is unifying all of their products into one seamless interface so that the user is able to share and collaborate with people, family, friends, coworkers, and so forth, without friction. Okay, without the frictions that are implicitly annoying and frustrating, and putting in the appropriate frictions that are for our privacy and for our ability to control and curate the right content that goes out about us. So they're trying to give us as much control over our data as possible. Of course, it's in the interest of them to do so, because then we'll be wedded to them and give them more information about ourselves so that they can then market to us better. So, you know, in essence, it's a meeting of two parts, us having more control and them having more data so that they can learn more about us. So it's sort of the marrying of those two. Hangouts gives us the ability to multi-chat, multi-audio video chat, both on a mobile phone and on your laptop or PC or Mac, whatever device you're using. And what this means now is that for basically, you know, no cost, you know, because it's built right within the Google Apps for Business tool, you just get it as a part of the service, you can now have, you know, 5 people on your team up to 10. But really, five people on the team is probably going to be your max. But you're gonna go ahead in there, and you can have up to 5 people on the team. One can be on their mobile phone in the field. Another can be a client in another state or another country. All of you basically are brought into the same Hangout, and you can now live in synchronous communication have this meeting and meeting of the people, and it's absolutely amazing. And I've been using it now for quite some time with not only my staff but also with clients for training, and our training sessions are amazing. They're great. And so Google Hangouts has really grown up. The service is getting stronger and stronger every day, and they're learning from the mechanisms. I would recommend that you you know, not do all of them via mobile phone. They can get a little spotty if you're on a mobile phone, but if you have a strong signal and if you're in a strong broadband space, you can pretty much do a really great mobile device. I've been using both my Android tablet and my iPhone as test pieces for Hangouts within the Google Apps for Business engine, and both have been working really beautiful as long as you have strong wireless connectivity. Next up is Sites. Sites is Google's answer to the web building product. So Google had Google Page Creator way back, and Google Page Creator allowed for you to go ahead and create simple websites. Well, Google Sites is now that tool, and it's grown up pretty much by leaps and bounds. Google Sites itself is a very strong web publishing tool, and for a business that doesn't want to have to hire a web designer and do all of those things, even though you could technically hire a web designer to help design your Google Sites page and so on and so forth. You don't have to, but it would definitely be helpful. You can develop a very sophisticated, very business-friendly and search engine optimized-friendly website for your business using Google Sites. It's under your domain, so it's www.yourbusiness.com. and it really is a fantastic tool. So Google Sites allows you to do that. It creates a dynamic mobile website for you, so that if your website's content is easily converted over to mobile, it will translate well because Google automatically does it. And obviously, since it's built on a Google platform, Google will know how to index it really well because it's a Google product. So no harm in having your website hosted by Google, so that Google can effectively go ahead and index it. Next up is a product called Vault. Vault is basically a sort of a legal and regulatory affairs product. What it does is it helps you to create all of these document retention policies for the things that are in your system. Now, Google gives you the ability to set up a criteria. For instance, these particular documents should last for 7 years, and then they're purged. These documents are never allowed to be deleted, and so on and so forth. So you're given this very, very strong control over who can delete what and when things can be deleted, if they can be deleted at all. And so you can talk to business counsel, legal counsel, or tax counsel, or financial advisor, whatever you need to do to figure out what documents are necessary, who gets what, talk to HR, and make sure that you have all the right settings in place, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore because Vault takes over. So really, really brilliant product in terms of making sure that you can effectively manage documents and data from the highest level of the organization, and then it's sort of a set it and forget it type of model. Now, the icon itself there, if it's too small for you to see, is actually a vault. It's a big old style vault, which is why it's called, why it looks like a vault. It looks like a big safe. But it's really a fantastic product, and I really like it. Now, what I've been talking about are the underlying main products. Google has, of course, many, many more products associated with it. And I just want to jump over to those and show you. So Google has what's called the Apps Marketplace. And the Apps Marketplace itself is this place where you can go ahead and add into the system as many other tools as is necessary for running your business. So for instance, right on your screen right now shows SurveyMonkey. If for some reason you needed to go ahead and set up a survey for your customers, you could go ahead and do that. If you wanted to send out email marketing, it incorporates MailChimp and Constant Contact, and all the other services connect here so that you can manage all of the stuff from within Google Apps. And so whether it's accounting and finance software or project management software, or sales and marketing software connecting to Salesforce, or whatever it might be, right here within Google Apps Marketplace, there is likely a solution for your business to be able to run all within the Google infrastructure, okay? So Google also gives you something called the Small Business Implementation Services. These are all outside services. You can see here if you just type in google.com/A as in Apple, which stands for apps. And so if you go to google.com/A, you can go in there and look under there, and you'll see in the one of the options is Small Business Implementation. And you can see that these services here can help a small business go ahead and implement it if you do run into a problem, whether that's migrating your email or setting up a particular database. Whatever it is within the Google Apps system, there are specialists out there throughout the United States who have the ability to go ahead and help you with that. And then, of course, if you need any other tools and so on and so forth, you can go ahead and search through the marketplace and see what you need and what you don't need, and so on and so forth. At this point, I've sort of given an overview of the product. Are there any questions about the products yet, Tracy?
Nothing yet, Ray.
Wonderful, good. All right, so just so we have an idea, you can see this is what the Gmail interface looks like. You can see that the Gmail interface basically puts your logo right up there at the top. Notice that it's a rectangle logo, and so you'll want to make sure that you set up your logo to either shrink to fit within the rectangle. This is just a quick tip, but really the logo goes ahead and gets squished if you have a square or circular, basically a logo that is equal distance by width, and so height by width. And so you want to make sure that you go ahead and have your logo set to either a shrunk model that then has some background space that makes it a rectangle, even though the background might not see it. But you can see here that this logo is rectangle, and it should be for purposes of it loading properly. But you go ahead and set up your logo in the system, and so now your brand is represented in front of your employees when they log in, which is important for your staff to be, seeing your brand. And then they basically have the interface that is Gmail. So they have their inbox in the main feed, in the main bar here in the main space, and then in the sidebar here they can go ahead and access mail and contacts from this little drop down. They can compose, they can see all of their folders and file containers and labels, and then down here they have the chat client. And of course they can modify all of those based on the administrative level functions that you give them access to. So that's what the Gmail interface looks like, and that's pretty much what all the other interfaces look like. They look like your Google product with your logo and brand in front of it. So it's a really, really great interface for people to be able to have all of those things in it. So let's get started. We can just go right to google.com/A. It will take us to this page. You can see right here they have a Getting Started button. If you just click on Getting Started or Get Started, it will take us over to the setup screens. So, excuse me, you can see here we have just some simple information that we need to fill out in order to be able to set this up. And so I'm going to go ahead in here and start filling out some of this information. And I'm just going to use a domain that I have sitting around. Let's see if I spelled that right. Yep. As some of you know, I'm a huge productivity enthusiast, and so I'm gonna go ahead and use one of my productivity domains here. All right, so you can see here I filled out the basic information. I clicked Next. It was just my name and email address and the name of the business itself, and then I went over to clicked on the Next button, and now it's saying, do you want to use your own business domain, or would you like to use a complimentary one that you'll be able to use forever? Again, I'm going to recommend that you go ahead and purchase your own domain. You can do that through any number of domain registrars. And you can go ahead and if you don't have one, just head over to our website at www.w3cinc.com/web, and you can find there's a domain search right on the right-hand side panel of our hosting site of the service. And you can just grab a domain. I think they're from as little as $3 a year up to about $10 to $20 a year. Very, very nominal cost, and now you have a business domain. So then it says, I would like to use a domain I've already purchased. So you go ahead and click on that one, and we're going to put in our domain that we have, and I'm going to use this, like I said, this dummy domain that I have. All right, so now what it's going to say is create your first Google account, and I'm going to go ahead and just type in, let me just type in Ray, R-A-Y, at productivitybookgroup.org, and it's going to ask me to go ahead and create a password. And I'm going to go ahead and create a pretty strong password. I can type the same one twice, and I'll be good to go. And then it's going to ask me, of course, for an alternate password, because it's going to want to be able to help me access my email address should I lose that particular one. Now it's going to ask me to do a little CAPTCHA, and I'm probably going to get this wrong because we all do. And then it asks you whether you'd like to receive upgrade notices and other announcements. I'm going to say yes, and it says, have I read and agreed to the Google Apps Business Agreement and Google Apps for Business Agreement. You should go ahead and read that. It's a very good set of terms and services, and very, very good for you. Excuse me. A little bit of something in my throat. And so you want to go ahead and read the Google Apps for Business Agreement and make sure that you agree with that, and go ahead and accept and sign up. So it goes through the process of going ahead and signing up for the service, and not sure what it's doing its little thing in the background. Okay, so at this point we are now taken into the Google Apps administrative panel. So if everybody is seeing what I'm seeing, you can see here, I'm going to actually expand this so that we can get rid of the the extra space here. And so as you can see right here, it says Admin Console now for my business. Okay, so we have the business site up in front of us. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through the setup process. So you can see that it says excuse me, it says that you have 1 users and 0 invitations, and so we can set up users, we can set up the company profile, we'll have to set up our billing information for purposes of managing the billing once it's all set up. Remember, we have 30 days to use the entire product for free underneath the trial, and then it eventually expires, okay? We can look at the various apps. Again, what I showed you were the main applications under Google Apps for Business, but Google Apps provides you support for those tools that I talked about. Google, though, provides you with all of the other tools Google provides. Google has 500 plus products and services, as you've probably heard me say many times if you've seen me do any seminar or other webinars. And all of those products are available under Google Apps, which means that you actually go to, for your business, yourself and your staff, you are now going to your business's domain for purposes of managing that information. It's really important for you to reinforce that if your customer is seeing you launch a blog, for instance, well, if you're using Google Apps for Business, now you go to Blogger and you set up that blog. Now it's blog.yourbusinessname.com instead of yourbusinessname.blogspot.com or whatever it might be. They're seeing your brand represented. Really, really powerful tool. Now, the caveat, though, is under the terms of service that you signed or that you agreed to in the setup, is that you do not have support for those particular products. You'll have to go to the support forums like everybody else and go ahead and get your support for Blogger or any of those other services that are not covered underneath the agreement with Google Apps for Business. That's not particularly a problem. It's just that you're not going to be able to talk to someone about it directly at Google. They have all of the Google team in the support forums, and they also have a very, very strong user base. So business owners like myself and yourself are in there, having had the experience of using the tool and overcoming all sorts of specific problems, and then showing you the solutions in sort of crowdsourced fashion. So lots of different applications in there. Of course, you can manage mobile devices. So as I talked about at the beginning of this, you have this BYOD problem, the bring your own device problem. Well, now you can activate and deactivate mobile devices right from this panel. So if I have a staff member, I recently had an unfortunate circumstance where a staff member of mine left because she passed away, and it was very unfortunate. And the situation was such that there were mobile devices she had activated using our Google Apps for Business account, and her computer and so on and so forth. All of them were rightfully being accessed by her from remote locations. Well, we had to deactivate them very quickly because they contained our sensitive business data, and I was able to do that in a heartbeat because I was able to log directly into Google Apps for Business and immediately shut down the services so that no one else had access to our business data from from people who were justifiably helping manage getting her estate in order and so on and so forth, or God forbid that she had dropped her phone, on the street or something like that in the process of things, and someone got a hold of it. But as a business owner, you need to protect yourself in those regards. People lose things on planes and trains and cars. You can go ahead and do that all right from here in the click of a button. So really, really amazing tool, and I'm glad that I had the tool in place so that I was able to respond to the situation with an easy and clear crisis strategy. So just really think about that when it comes to your own business continuity. And so also right down here they give you this quick, easy control panel, and one of them is support. So if you have a question or something like that for the products that they do support you on, or the admin panel, just click on support and they'll work you through the options. So let's just quickly run through the setup process so you can see what we're going through here. Like I said, we're going to not be able to do some of these things because we don't have time in the hour to do so, but we'll go through that. So it asks you to go ahead and verify the domain. And so in this particular case, what it did was it automatically verified my domain registrar, and it said, do you want me to take you over there to go do that? I'm going to tell them to do this later because, quite honestly, we don't have time in the hour to do so. And so it's going to lock me in here so that I can't go through the rest of the process until I go ahead and verify that domain. So normally it would take you through the startup process manually from that point forward, but since I can't verify the domain because it will take us more time than for me to be able to have today, I'm not going to. So I'm just going to take you through the different sections and show you what it will set you up with. So just using their format of users, then going over to the company profile. Normally it does it in the reverse. We're going to go over to the user panel, and so I did that really quickly. I'm going to take you back. So right here I clicked on users. It takes you over to the users panel. Very easy, right? Here is my user for myself, Ray at productivitybookgroup.org, and I can go in here and I can reset passwords and I can elevate myself to a particular level or downgrade myself. Actually, that's not true. I'm a super admin user in this particular setting because I'm the one who created it, and I cannot remove my own rights. So I can't downgrade myself in this particular fashion because I'm the only person associated. However, if I wanted to add someone else to it, I can go ahead and just add the user manually, or you can upload a CSV file. If you don't know what that is, then don't worry about it. But if you do know what a CSV file is, you can actually upload a CSV file of several users at once. So if you want to add a manual user, I can go ahead and add my John Doe, employee, and I can set. It'll give him a temporary password, or I can set one manually for him. And so I can go ahead here and say John Doe. His email is going to be john@productivitybookgroup.org. Click on Create New User, and now it's going to pop up a little screen, and I can email instructions to John, and I can also print the instructions for him. And I just click Done. So it gives me all the information here. So if I click on email instructions, it pops open this new little window. It gives his account information, the username and password, the temporary password that was set up for him, and a link to the services itself. Notice that what he gets from the service is a domain. This URL is google.com/a/productivitybookgroup.org, your business name.com. And so I can go ahead and type in an email address for him and send this email over to him, and now he can log in and set up those services. From there, the tool will show him how to set up his services on any mobile devices that I give them access to be able to use. Really, really powerful. So he can go ahead and log in and set things up from there. I can print the instructions and literally hand it to him if he's in my physical space, and then I can continue on creating new users, as many as I need. Okay, and so again, in the trial version, I can create as many users as I want, but after the trial, you're paying per user per month or per user per year. So you would have to pay as much for them as many users as you have. So there goes the creation of those folks. Notice that the tools, again, the tool itself is designed from a contextual perspective, as Google it has sort of designed this. So when you're looking at the interface, some of the options to be able to operate with users don't show up until you've clicked something. So in this particular case, until I select John, I don't have these options to be able to add the user to a group, delete the user, or to move the user to another organization. Moving the user to the other organization we're going to get to momentarily, but the point is that you can actually have multiple organizations managed right here within Google Apps for Business. So if I wanted to, I could go in and have multiple domains and multiple businesses all here within Google Apps for Business, and then what you're paying for is each of those organizations' users. So just remember that if you have a John Doe at productivitybookgroup.org and I created a John Doe at w3cinc.com, all under the same account, you would be paying $10 per user per month or $100 per user per year for the ability to be able to access both of those quote-unquote organizations. Okay, so the contextual menu shows up when you click on someone, and I'm going to go ahead and delete John here, and this is as simple as it is. I mean, from if he's happens to have had access or any kind of access to those services outside of him when he was in there, I'm going to go ahead and just click on delete user, and now the John Doe user immediately becomes unusable from all of the devices that he was accessing from before. Okay, I can like I said, add as many users. I can download users. I can filter those users by active, suspended, or recently deleted users. So if I click on recently deleted users, I can see that John is still set up here, that if I needed to reactivate him for some reason, I could go ahead and do that. Let's hop back over, and this is the company profile. Under the company profile, it allows us to be able to put up company name. We can put in future release policies, and all sorts of other company-wide settings, as it says here. And so, as you can see, I can change the name of the company here so that it reads properly if I happen to mistype it. You can see that my primary administrator account, I can change that, and once I make that change, I can go ahead and make those changes within the user profiles. So if I needed to move an administrator, I could go ahead and do that. And in case of a forgotten administrator password, you can set it to allow it to send a password reset instructions to the secondary account, which is the other email address that I added up there before. If I wanted to give a user support message, that is, if you have an IT department or if you have an IT service that you currently use for purposes of managing your business's information technology and infrastructure, you can put that information, the contact person, right there. So if Joe at IT Services, is the person to call, you can tell them, go ahead and give them a call, and there you have it. And so the person will know, if you have a problem, call these folks, don't call me, because they're the ones who will be responsible for it. And so if a person comes to log in, they have a problem, they can go ahead and call Joe at IT Services or Jane at IT Services and have them take care of the problem. Okay, really, really helpful if you're not the one who will be managing this account directly. Okay, so you have the ability to go ahead and change the default language of your services if your practice is primarily not in English, and you can go ahead and set your time zones. You can go ahead and tell whether or not you want to turn on or off advertising within the system. So I would probably turn off the advertising if I don't want my staff to be advertised to within the products. I would just turn them off. And you can see that you have two different options regarding new user features. Now, Google is consistently putting new features into Google Apps for Business, into all of the Google products. There are dozens of new features added to the services across all of the Google products every day. Excuse me. And so, excuse me. So Google goes ahead and releases these features in two different ways. One is called rapid release, which means that as soon as Google puts out a new feature, you get the new feature, and it's put to all of your employees. Now, the other side is what's called scheduled release, and that is so that you can play around with the tool and usually have about 1 to 2 weeks to be able to do so. And then after that, it'll basically go live. Now, Google has calendars, Google Calendars, of course, associated with each of these scheduled releases and these rapid releases, and will tell you when they're going out there. So you can subscribe to the calendars so that you can actually see them, and you can turn these calendars on and off so that you don't have to see it all the time, but you can just look at it on, say, a monthly basis or so forth, and see when they're going to be releasing these items. That way you can do training, you can show your staff how to use it, and tell users before it goes live that they're going live, so that they're aware that these changes are going to be happening. The biggest one that's recently happened was the change in the Gmail Compose window, which is a huge change for the way in which we have been typically using the Gmail Compose feature. So I think there's still some issues, and I think that Google will be working those out over the near short term and the near long term. And so the Compose feature, of course, I use the scheduled release for my Google Apps for Business, because I wanted to make sure that all of the people on staff and all of my clients knew how to use the Gmail Compose window before it went live. It was a big change for everyone. So the scheduled release is probably my recommended, so that you have a little bit of time before all those things happen. New services. If Google has new services that it brings out and releases those new services, do you want to automatically use those new services under Google Apps for Business? You can have it automatically added, or you can manually add those services from your administrative console. There's audit and reporting, so you can log activity for people logging in and out of tools within the apps marketplace. I usually go ahead and log all of that data. More data is better than not, even if I'm not going to be using it. Also is setting up Google Analytics. I do like to set up Google Analytics for all of my Google Apps for Business accounts, and so I do use the Google Analytics service. I usually set it up right from the start here. So I would click on this, it'll take me over to Google Analytics and have me set up the analytics tool, putting in the Urchin account, the UA code, and making sure that's set up. Google Apps desktop features. So Google provides you with some tools that you can download and pre-configure your account from the localized menu, and you can also set those up within Google Chrome, which is the popular web browser built by Google. And so you can go ahead and do that. I really enjoy using Google Chrome, as I am right now with you in this panel, and using it for purposes of seeing the differences between the tools and so on and so forth. Really, really fantastic way for you to be able to use those. If you are using, excuse me, if you are using Internet Explorer, make sure that you upgrade to the most recent version of Internet Explorer. That's just a security tip. The second then is to actually install the Google Chrome extension for Internet Explorer. So what this does is it gives you some additional tools within Internet Explorer that Microsoft doesn't give you that really updates the browser so that you have a cleaner, more streamlined web experience. Okay? So I would really make the recommendation that if you are using Internet Explorer, that you go ahead and upgrade by using the Chrome extension within Google that Google has created for Internet Explorer. So go ahead and do that. And then you have the security settings here. You can see that there are a whole set of amendments and so on and so forth regarding different classes, the EU model contract clauses, and so on and so forth. They add all of these things to be able to make sure that you are updated regarding compliance, requirements and so on and so forth, and they sort of manage that all right here within the system. So if there's a new amendment to the agreement or something like that, they'll go ahead and provide you with the agreement so that you can read it, you can print it, and you can go ahead and agree to those services all within the system. And then it tells you when they have been reviewed and accepted, so that you're able to go ahead and see those. So when I logged into my other account, I read through these amendments and new contract clauses, and I was agreeable with them, and so now they're all set up in the system. Okay, so that's your profile. You would do this again with each of these different areas. You have communication preferences, and you can tell Google whether or not you want to receive these particular announcements or not. Personalization, this is where you can actually go ahead and implement your own logo. So if I wanted to go ahead and provide my own logo for my business, I just select the Google, the non-Google logos, which are the defaults, and then go down to custom logo, which I recommend you do. It tells you exactly what sizes the files need to be in this particular case. Notice it needs to be a rectangle at 143 pixels by 59 pixels, okay? And you're not allowed to use any Google trademarks, of course, if you are going to use the custom logo. All right, so go ahead and upload that in PNG or in a GIF file, and there's a big conflict in the tech world over whether it's pronounced GIF or GIF, and it seems like the accepted format right now is GIF, so that's why I'm using the accepted pronunciation of GIF. Okay, so we can go ahead and click Choose File, find a file on our computer that we want to use for our company logo, click Upload, and then that will show up in all of the products that the users go ahead and create. So I'll just click on the Show This Logo in all sites that users create, and it will do that right across everything within the platform. Since I haven't uploaded one, I'm going to move it back to default because it will then show me nothing. All right, in the sign-up box, you can use the closest color to your brand. So if you wanted to decide on picking, green, orange, yellow, purple, blue, or gray. If not, then you can go ahead and choose a custom color. So in my world, W3 Consulting has a very specific green, and we could go ahead and find that green by just, plugging in its hex code or its color code, its web color code. Okay, and so we can go ahead and put those colors in terms of the border and the background and so on and so forth. So you can customize the tool pretty well so that it can sort of look like your business. Okay, custom URLs. Excuse me. So here what we have is a set of URLs to take people to particular parts of the tools. So we look at the main tools within Google Apps. We have email, and so what Google has done is they put in mail.yourbusiness.com. They have calendar, calendar.yourbusiness.com, and then for docs or drive, it would have docs.yourbusinessname.com, and then the sites and video and so on and so forth, okay? So if you wanted to make it really easy for your staff to be able to get around and get to these products, all they need to do is to remember these simple words and then just know that they're subdomains to reach those particular places. Now, again, I have to verify my domain in order to be able to make these happen, and then Google will naturally start to manage those subdomains and give you instructions on how to make that happen. you need to make sure that you have what's called a CNAME record, okay, in your domain registrar's account. Okay, so if you don't know what that means and you get stuck in a problem, you can go ahead and call your domain host, your domain registrar is really what they mean, and make sure that they help you make sure that the CNAME records are updated within your DNS records. Okay, so that's just a simple fix, and then you'll have that. So that's the company profile. Those are the parts of the company profile. Billing is billing. You enter your credit card information, and they charge you. Pretty much as simple as that. Obviously, the $50 per year per user is cheaper than the $5 per user per month. If you can afford, obviously, to put the money up front, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, so then we go down to the next one. I'm just not going back out to the user panel. I'm not clicking back. I'm just staying in the drop-down menu for time's sake. And so I'm just dropping down here. But I went to Google Apps, and now this is where we can actually see the different products. So we're going to go through the main products. You can see here we have the main products that Google gives us. Calendar, one of the products I didn't talk about, which is Contacts, which is a huge product, which is absolutely brilliant. Google gives you the ability to streamline the management of all the contacts in your business. And what you can do is you can share contacts among all the people in your business. So if you had 10 on staff and they had 10 different databases of contacts, they can keep their independent databases, but Google allows you to be able to share them in a centralized place so that if Susan over in accounting has the contact for your client Sally, then Stephen over in the sales department can see Sally's contact information. Really, really easy for being able to access all of that information well. So then we have Google Drive, which includes Google Docs and so on and so forth, Gmail, mobile, which allows you to be able to set up synchronization across mobile devices, Google Sites, which is the web publishing tool, Google Talk, which is now Hangouts, but they haven't yet updated it here in the system, and Google Video. So Google Video is really amazing because what it allows you to do is to create not only public video, but private video as well. It's YouTube, okay, but YouTube in your domain control, okay? What this does is allows you to be able to create something like a series of onboarding videos. So if you wanted to talk about introducing a new intern or bringing on a new staff member or so on and so forth, or doing a regular monthly video to your staff who might not be in your main office location. If you are like me and you have staff that are in disparate locations and are not in your physical office every day, you can go ahead and have a video series where you can literally talk to them face to face, or at least them seeing your face, and you can show them things. You can do demonstration and how-to videos for showing them how to get around the phone system and how to get around Google Apps, for instance, and so on and so forth. You can do really some wonderful things with the Google Apps for Business video and have a really great time with it. So these are the main services. You can go ahead and click on this icon here is for adding services, and you can see that there are, as soon as it loads, you'll see that there are many, many other services that are available within the marketplace. You just click on Marketplace, and you can go in there and add those particular tools from within the marketplace. And there are, of course, groups for business, which is basically Google Groups. So you can have mail groups within Google Groups, and you can set that up. It's really, really helpful to be able to create sort of an internal, an intranet, basically, for your company. You can do that all within there. A quick tip, though, by the way, if you're using Google Drive and you are using Google Drive using Google Apps for Business, and you want to be able to map a different domain, that is, you want to just be able to set up a website that's sort of just a marketing website and anything like that, you can do that all within Google Drive. I don't know why you would, but there are probably specific reasons. But I was recently testing, and you can actually host a full website from within Google Drive, which means that you can do that from a Gmail account, as a regular free Google account as well. The only thing is that you're going to be mapped to having one of these wacky long URLs, but you can literally have a website completely hosted within Google Drive. So it's just a matter of making sure that your directory has an index.html file, and then, of course, making sure that all of the appropriate web navigation is on the web page, and you can pretty much build a file all within Google Drive. Anyway, I was playing, geeking out, having a great time, and so you could do that. So you can add all the products that you need from within the tool settings. If you know what the Google App Engine is, if you're developing applications or know of an application that was built for you, you can go ahead and use the Google Apps Engine, and you'd be good to go there. And so you have the ability to go ahead and add applications. Under the mobile devices section, you can see the devices that are currently added to your system, and you can actually manage all the mobile devices from within the system as well. If you have any questions about setup, you just click on the gear icon here, click on setup, and you can see all the various parts of the mobile access under mobile access here. So you can see here we can have BlackBerry setup, iPhone setup, Windows, mobile, other, and obviously Android, which is owned by Google, and it will show you all the parts of setting up Google Apps on your mobile phone, and really, really helpful. And I have all of my devices synchronizing the contacts, email, calendar, everything pretty much that I use in Google is all synchronized across that platform seamlessly, and I don't have to think about it at all. It's really, really brilliant. Okay, so that is Google Apps in a nutshell, and I'm happy to answer questions and also to show you any parts that I didn't that you think might be helpful. Tracy, questions?
Not so far, Ray.
Wonderful. I answered all of your questions without even trying. Well, if that's the case, I'm thankful for everybody coming onto the webinar. And again, if you have any questions about it after the webinar, just go ahead and shoot those at W3 Consulting, hashtag it Beyond Google, and I'll be happy to answer those. Obviously, you can go ahead and contact your local SBDC if you have questions, and they can reach me.
Okay. Thanks, everyone, for participating today. A few housekeeping items. Today's webinar was recorded, and it'll be posted on the Virginia SBDC website under live webinars and recordings. Tomorrow, you'll receive a follow-up email on the webinar, and there'll be an evaluation link in the email. Please help us continue to improve these webinars by filling that out. If you'd like to do that now, I put the link in the chat window for you all to fill out. See you next for our next seminar on June 20th, Disaster Planning in the Digital Age. Thanks, Ray. Thanks, everyone.